Hey everyone, it's nice to be here today. As Glenn mentioned, my name is Natalie Roberts and I am a process automation consultant from FlexFair Innovation. I recently joined the enterprise solutions team back in September as a process automation consultant. And so today, as he mentioned, we are going to be reviewing data scraping and how artificial intelligence and robotic process automation can help companies really be streamlined into the future of technology. And before we get too into this, I kind of wanted to give an overview of what robotic process automation is, how it works, what it does, and why it's pertinent to you, and how you can use these tools or information for your company or where you work, or just out of curiosity. I really, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I really landed in this area of technology just through exploration. And being given a chance to learn. I really stand behind one of our core values at FlexFair, which is never stop learning. And I think that's really key here in technology and learning all the things that there is to know about coding. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get started. So my contact information is here. Again, we're looking at robotic process automation and what it does as a whole, and FlexFair Innovation. So, what is it? What is robotic process automation? It sounds, kind of ominous if you haven't had any experience with it, or, this is the first time you're hearing about it. I'm sure we have heard this before. I know everyone attending this conference is very highly intelligent related to code and everything that surrounds coding. But, essentially here, robotic, it's a program that allows the human to actually be relieved from doing very tedious and time-consuming tasks. So it's, the intention behind having a robot do something for you is to alleviate your pains from working. And so, this allows the users and, people working in the company to do more high-level tasks, more fulfilling tasks that they enjoy doing at work, rather than sitting there and doing the same things over and over again. It gets very dull, and you get burnt out. And so the worst things you can do at work are to be burnt out and tired, and you start being sluggish and start looking for other things to do. And so what RPA does is it comes in and it helps you automate some of those tasks that you might not think are even possible, but with new technology and doing low code, no code is really up and coming. And so that's why I was grateful to share this talk today. And we'll just keep going here. So you can use robotic process automation for many different types of tasks that you have at your office. Data collection and data checking. And the live demo that I'm going to do today is going to show how data collection and data checking can really help some of your processes. You can have automated workflows where, let's say that you're a financial advisor and you get in reports with really high reporting numbers, or really high like monetary values, and let's say that they need to review salaries or numbers that are over a certain amount. You can have automated workflows automatically basically send you this information and go through those approvals for you through different business logic and different checks that you can place through these workflows. And so the robot can ensure that every single time that these variables or these checks are in place, that you're ensuring, data integrity. And then it's also relinquishing you from having to review every single one of those processes. And so a few of these other items that are listed here under these bullet points are other ways that RPA can interact with your business. Interfaces here, RPA can be used to create connections between systems that don't have APIs or pre-established connectors. This is really interesting for automating tasks potentially that need a solution very quickly, and you're unable to hire a full stack developer, or maybe you just don't have the budget to, take on something that will require all of this coding. You're able to, you can use through Microsoft's Power Platform, you can use the tools that they have out of the box to implement these solutions so that you can streamline your business processes. And so it's just a really interesting way that technology is helping people. And so with the live demo that we're doing, we're going to be showing how artificial intelligence can really help speed those processes along and keep your data accurate. Again, with scalability, customer experience, it touches on all of these things as a whole, which is great because, every company, you need stability. And especially in, with our pandemic and, unsure times in the economy, you have to be ensuring that your business is going to maintain those compliance standards, that they're able to maintain those salaries that, your business can keep up. And so RPA is one of those ways that you can not only enhance upon, those foundations at your company, but, it's actually the next stage in technology. It's the future. And so by, learning about these tools and at least having the information about it can really help, spark some interest or give you some insight into, how these things can be implemented for you. This example that I have here listed is what I'm going to be doing the live demo for. And so essentially we had a client, and I'll go ahead and explain the backstory here. We had a client that was receiving bills of lading. And for those of you who don't know, a bill of lading contains certain information, data points from truck deliveries that are coming into the business. And so a bill of lading would contain something such as the order number, the date for that truck, when they arrived, maybe their driver's license name, their driver's license number, things of that nature pertinent to that bill of lading. And so what our client was experiencing, their pain point is that, with this job market, one, you have a lot of different people coming in and out. So it's hard to teach a standardized process to many new people across the board. And so with the solution that we provided them, it removed that need to have to constantly retrain and teach a lot of people how to do this process correctly. And so how this was happening, they would receive a bill of lading, which comes on a tiny little piece of receipt paper. And sometimes the handwriting is not legible, or sometimes it wasn't filled out correctly. And so what was happening is that, they would get the receipt, and then they would have to scan the receipt in to a stationed computer. And from the computer, the user at that computer would have to take that bill of lading information and then manually key that information into an online database. And so there's lots of room for error here. And this is because, not only, do you have to train people correctly every single time, but there's data loss. Sometimes they would lose the receipts, and, now you're not ensuring that your data is accurate. And, that's the root of the problem. When you have a business, you have to ensure that your data is the most accurate so that you're profitable. And so our solution instead takes the bill of lading, and what we did was we trained an AI model to identify those key fields on the bill of lading that the client was wishing for us to capture. And so by doing that, we trained the AI model to recognize when the data is on the sheet or when it's not there. And this was really key for them because now we can ensure that, something is filled out correctly or something is not, and it can catch it in real time. And so this process is really just digitized, the manual, portion of this, because once the AI has processed the bill of lading, it then puts it into an automated RPA flow. And this is the second portion right here. The robotic process automation flow has taken the variables from the AI scan, and it checks it against the coding that we've done to ensure that it has a confidence score of 90% or more. If it does not meet that confidence score criteria, we can then do other things with this bill of lading. We can say, okay, why doesn't it meet that confidence score? Are we missing the order number? Are we missing the date? It can go down to, the very fields and identify that, this is missing. And in real time, it can send you that alert that tells you, hey, we received a bill of lading. This is the name of the bill of lading. This is how we received it. And it needs further review because, it's missing something. And so, that eliminates the data loss that they were experiencing. And then not only that, once you can identify those variables and confirm that we do meet the 90% criteria, we can then actually go ahead and store it automatically into their online cloud storage. And so, this also eliminates the manual entry time from that user who's sitting at the computer. And so now instead, the user they've been repurposed to maybe focus on other tasks that, this was taking up time from them. And so, now they can focus on, in the morning, let's say they had 100 bills of lading and 25 of them were incorrect. Well, what the RPA flow can do as well, and I'll show you this in my demo, is that it can take those mistakes or those errors on those bills of lading, and it can actually put them into an organized folder. And so from this folder, the user, once they get up and they go into work, they can have an email list of all of these were incorrect, and then here is the folder in which these need to be reviewed. So you've digitized this process, you've organized the data, and now you're ensuring data integrity. So it's just a very interesting way to take an ordinary process and really see the impact and the change that it can make to the individuals doing this process. You've freed up the user themselves, and then you've also freed up, you've made it more simplistic for the users coming in and out and who are filling out these bills of lading. So it's just a really interesting process to me. And you can see at the bottom here, the original processing time was 5 to 10 minutes per bill of lading, because you have to wait for them to scan it in. You have to sit there and check. Sometimes the data is not there again. So it could take a few minutes, and then you have to pull up the online cloud storage and then type it in. And so now that we've eliminated those things, it only takes about 15 seconds to process a bill of lading. And so this is a huge improvement, not only in time saving, but also cost saving, because now since you've repurposed your users to do other things that they can focus on, you're saving time and money. So this is just one example of what RPA can do with artificial intelligence, and we'll just continue on. The next business example, this refers more to interactions with websites. And so RPA can do multiple different things. I mentioned before, maybe you don't have an API connection or a custom connector that's available. But again, you need a quick turnaround time. We did this for another client where they were creating advanced shipment notices. And this is for things like, if you're a lumber company and you're receiving tons of orders and orders and orders and orders, what this company was experiencing is that they had hundreds of lines of Excel data. It had the order number, the SKU of the item or lumber, the address for where this lumber needed to be shipped to, and so on and so forth. Hundreds of lines of Excel data. And so what was happening with this is that, the person is sitting there looking at hundreds of lines of Excel data. Your eyes are getting weary. You might be fat fingering things because you're typing in so many different lines of data. And it's very easy to mistakenly type in the wrong address for the line right above. And so this main pain point for this client was, they had tons of shipment notices, and because of the pandemic, they had doubled in size. And so the demand was twice as much. And the previous year, they had lost, I think, about $1 million in profit because of mistakes made in entering this data. And so, they came to us and they said, is there a quick solution that we could do, in about maybe a week or so, because we have to really turn this around quickly. And, we said, yes, absolutely. We have the tools that we can automate this for you, and you don't have to worry about it. And the response and impact that this made on them was overwhelming. They were blown away by the simplicity and how we implemented this, and ultimately the impact on the end user. Everything was done correctly. Everything was done on time. And not only that, but again, it released their people to do more fulfilling tasks at their job. So we can start from the beginning. You have an Excel sheet with hundreds of lines of data, like I mentioned before. And this is using a tool called Power Automate Desktop. And this is something that you download on your desktop as a tool. And what you do is you go into the desktop tool and you basically are coding in the Power Automate language, which is kind of like a drag and drop. So you can choose all the same logic that you would have in any coding language, but it automates with that logic, it automates the website that you're interacting with on the screen in real time. So I was able to automate their e-commerce website, and it would log into their website. It would extract all the correct data from each row in the Excel file, and then it would enter it in the correct positions, in the correct data fields into the e-commerce website. And then from there, it would repeat the process until the entire Excel sheet was done. And so after, you can see at the bottom there, it said it took them about a week to process. And this was with using 2 people full time, just sitting at the computer, entering in this data. And with doing this through RPA, we were able to bring their processing time down to about 6 hours. So not only have we, again, alleviated that stress and time consumption, but now you're saving money. But on top of that, everything is accurate. Every order was correct. Everything went smoothly, and they were able to deliver on time, which was a huge win for them. And so, the feedback we got from them was, we never want to do this differently. We want to constantly be reassessing our technology and being in the know about what is out there that can help us improve our business. And so this was just another example that we had and how you can use RPA. And I've mentioned Microsoft's Power Platform a few times. This is just to give an overview in case anyone is unfamiliar with what Microsoft's Power Platform is. I'll go over these icons a bit. So the Power BI is business analytics. So as its icon kind of seems, graphs displaying the data, what you're doing with the data, SQL, and so things of that nature is involved with the Power BI aspect. What I am particularly versed in is Power Apps and Power Automate. Power Apps is a low-code, no-code application or system where you can actually build out fully workable applications, and you can use them on your mobile device. You can use them on a website. And this is for companies or businesses that really need a quick solution for something that's very tedious or needs organization. For Power Apps specifically for our company, we implemented a Power App that helps our sales pipeline. So, when you're meeting with new clients and you want to keep note of, this is a potential contact, you could log into the Power App, enter in that data, and it saves it in a form, and it's submitted to the sales team, and then they're able to do something with that information from there. Whereas previously, you would have to text your sales team or send them an email, and then you would have those emails back and forth. And so it wasn't a centralized system. But through Power Apps, we were able to centralize and organize that data so it's all in one place. And this is just one example of how you can use Power Apps. Power Automate, again, is what I was mentioning before. There's Power Automate and there's Power Automate Desktop. They're 2 different tools, but they can essentially do very similar things. So Power Automate typically connects through APIs in systems, and it can also automate the tasks that I mentioned before with the bills of lading. And then we also have Power Virtual Agents, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with. If you can text T-Mobile now and they'll have a bot respond to you. You can text banks and they'll send you, your current balance. And so that's kind of what the Power Virtual Agents can do for you. And these can sit on your website. And I'm sure you've seen when you go to, even our Python conference, having chatbots involved can be helpful. It just alleviates that piece of information you might need at midnight, but nobody's awake. And so those power virtual agents can be powerful during those times of need. Then we also have data connectors, again, which refers to REST APIs. We also have AI Builder, which I'm going to go over today. And then we have Dataverse, which is a very secure cloud database where you can store your data and create tables. And the Power Platform can come with some pre-built solutions too, so that when you're still learning these tools and you might have an immediate need for something, you can actually download the package and it can start working immediately. So, Power Apps, let's say you have the app on your phone and you're submitting a new ticket to Jira, you can do that through a Power App. It can automatically take that data and submit it directly to Jira through an API, and it's automatically updated. And so these are just a couple examples of some out-of-the-box solutions that the Power Platform offers. Now, what are the determining factors for robotic process automation? Why did we choose it? Why are we in this industry? Well, there's obviously a need here. You need to be free to be a human at work and not just a number, not just a robot doing things. We're humans, we need social interaction, we need fulfilling tasks, or we get burnt out. And so when you're looking at RPA and you have no idea where to go, you can look at a few key things here. Are your tasks very time consuming? Are they taking away from other things that you need to be doing? Resource intensive. Again, with that example I provided, you're using two people who are both working 40 hours a week side by side, but it's just very tedious and it takes so long to do something just like that. And again, with the human errors, if there's a very structured process that you have and there's just room to make mistakes back and forth, again, with the bills of lading, it's just very frustrating. And then again, paper-based systems, we're being very mindful of the economy and our ecosystem, and so everyone is moving more towards a digital tech industry. And so if you're still using paper, why are you using the paper? What is it about the paper that you need? Are there other ways that we can explore how to make this a digital solution so we can remove those paper trails? And then if something's hard to manage remotely, if you have to come into the office, and we're moving to a more remote world, especially after this pandemic, and so we've had to make lots of exceptions and, understanding family and, all of these things involve, what makes you a good employee. And so, things that are hard to manage remotely, are those processes, can they be reviewed? Can they be redone? Are we paying for tools that we might not know about that can help alleviate, why it's so hard to manage remotely? And, some things are, you absolutely can't manage remotely. But again, it comes back to revisiting your business processes and, how you, trying to figure out what those changes would be needed there in order to digitize this process. And then, with clearly defined rules with our client in the bill of lading, it was very structured, very simple. They needed to collect these data points. They needed to ensure they were there. If they were not, you do something with it. If they were there, you do something else with it. So very, very clear and defined rules so that the bot can do something every single time consistently. And then no critical thinking required. So, you obviously can't have a robot attend a business meeting for you. And so, when you are doing these things and you're thinking about, okay, I'm, what can we automate? Well, moving data from an Excel sheet to, a website doesn't require too much critical thinking. It's just very repetitive. And so again, that's another example on how you could, think of what are those determining factors. And, the biggest key here at the end, quality and consistency. You want to ensure that you're delivering the best quality as consistently as possible to your company. And so when you can define those things and figure out, this is where we can truly improve on our quality and consistency, that's another good factor for determining, how to use RPA for your business. So I think we are done here with the PowerPoint. We can save questions for after we do this demo. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through, this is the bill of lading example. So I'm going to walk you through what the bill of lading looks like, and we'll just go from there. So this is where we redesigned. We came together and we said, we don't want a tiny piece of receipt paper. We want something that's clear, that new hires can understand, and that's very simple to follow. And so this inbound STO number here, this is where the order number would be written down. This is not typed, it's written. And so you would also enter in your date, and you would fill in these check boxes, or whatever pertinent information you have per your bill of lading. And again, your driver's name and driver's license. And so what this process is going to look like is we have a tool in the bottom right-hand corner, and this is the Power Automate flow that I was talking about. And I'll go ahead and expand this here, and we'll talk through how this works. So it seems like there are 3 very simple steps here in this automation process, but that's the beauty of this. It looks simplistic. It is simplistic. It's colorful, and it's fun to learn and understand. And so essentially what happens is you have a bill of lading. It's scanned into a specific folder. You review or retrieve those folders in that particular, you retrieve those files in that particular folder, and you can set these conditions. And again, this is where the logic of the low code, no code comes in. So you're looking at these conditions. You want to ensure that what bill of lading you're picking up is actually a PDF. Let's say somebody scans in something and it's a text file. We don't want to pick up the text files. That's not what the AI model is trained to do. So we need to ensure that it's a PDF. And so that's where that check comes in right there. And then we can work our way down. And right here is where the AI model extracts the information from the form. And so by doing this, again, we're ensuring we're assigning those data fields on that PDF to variables, and that's how we can check the variables. So you can see if I hover over this, there is more code involved. But for me, it was as simple as just defining those variables and taking them from the previous step. So, we have to ensure that the data here, if it is equal to null, or there's nothing in the shipment number field, if yes, if it's blank, it's going to go through this set of steps right here. And if it's not blank, it's going to go through these steps over here. And so if it is blank, that's a problem. That's data missing. We can't process a bill of lading with missing data. And so, the shipment number is the core key field that they required for us to show that, we really want to capture the shipment number. That's what we care about. So for them, it was a very simple check to make here. So if it is blank, it will, get that particular PDF, and it will copy essentially, and move it into another folder, a folder for review. And again, that's what I was talking about in the beginning. You'll come into work, you have an organized folder full of all of the mistakes or errors that the AI was able to identify for you. And then it will send an email. First, it gets the profile of the user who is signed into that computer, and then it will send you an email. And then it deletes the file from where it got it originally, so that you're not constantly rerunning the same files. You don't want to run something that you just reviewed. So this happens over here if we don't have a shipment number. Now, let's say that we do have the shipment number and we want to continue on with the process. Great. now we have another set of conditions. This is where we can ensure the 90% confidence score. It needs to be greater than or equal to 90%. And this ensures that, okay, great. We've identified that something is, processable. And so, we also extract the other values here. You can see we're getting the date. And this check here, it's not a confidence score. It's just ensuring that the data is there on the page. And whether it's in the right format or not isn't specific here. That's not what the client cared about. They just wanted to ensure that the data is there. And so once you go through these conditions, you can, again, we have an if yes and if no. So if essentially that, everything is good to go, we are going to push that data that we extracted along with that PDF into this. You might recognize this icon. This is SharePoint Online. And so it will then create that same data that they were looking for, that they were previously entering in manually. And it will update the item with the written text on the PDF, and it'll insert that into SharePoint. So you can get the PDF into SharePoint, the file name, the extracted written data, and it's done automatically. So none of this is now manual. And by doing all of this, again, we're forcing those integrity checks. And then again, let's say if not, something is null or whatnot, there's a problem with it. Again, we get the file content and we move that file to the review folder so that, the user can review it and make sure those changes can be made so that the bill of lading can be processed. So this is the overview of how this entire process works. Again, it's 3 simple steps, right? But it's not. There are, many variables and many business checks that go into this. And so without further ado, we are going to process these bills of lading, and you guys can see how fast this works. So in this upper right-hand corner, I have a Get Document folder. In the middle here is my Review folder, and over here on the left is my Archive folder. Now, we have an Archive folder. I don't know if I mentioned this previously, but the Archive folder is just intended for local storage. So let's say SharePoint is down for some reason, you don't know it's down, but it successfully processed all of these bills of lading. Well, it'll store it in this local folder just for, breadcrumb purposes. You're able to go back and review. Maybe there's something that, technology isn't perfect. And so maybe there's something that, you needed clarity on and you want to review that. So that is what this Archive folder is here for. Down in this left-hand corner, I have the online SharePoint library, and this will, it should update automatically once these PDFs are processed. And then over here, you will see some timers as it's going through and processing. And each one of these will be removed from this document folder. As I mentioned before, we don't want to run the same PDFs over and over again. It's very inefficient. So I'm going to go ahead and start this flow, and we'll give it a second here, and you'll see the timer and see how quickly it starts to process, all dependent upon my internet, of course. So now we see that the flow is running, and it took, only a couple seconds for it to list these files that are in this folder. And then it's going to apply it to each, of course, because we want to make sure that we're processing each and every file out of this folder. So as you can see in real time, it's moved this blank one to the review folder, and that's exactly what we needed. I showed you before, I could pull it up again. This is blank, so, this needs review. We need to do something about this. This is bad data. This one was filled out correctly. I'll show you an example of how this was filled out. And so, the AI determined, okay, we met a 90% confidence. I'm going to go ahead and ensure that these other data fields exist. And then if we're all good there, then I can go ahead and archive it, and then I can place it into the online SharePoint library. And you can see this is about at 2 minutes, and we're done. And so we've processed 4 items in about 2 minutes or less. You can actually see it's changed back to 1 minute. And, that's incredible. And also, we now have it automatically moved into our SharePoint library. So I'll pull this up as well. So not only did it grab the name, and this was something that I had to code into as well. And this is how their naming convention works. They name it the name of the PDF. And so you can actually come here, and it's actually moved the entire file into the SharePoint library, which is nice. And it's done that automatically. And you can see, technology isn't perfect, but it did try to figure out what the shipment number was. And this is just actually for fun, I would say. It's not a requirement that the client wanted, but this was just to test out and see how accurate we can get. And obviously, with training more models, you can get more accuracy with object character recognition. So this is essentially the overview of how the bills of lading work. You can see it also moved these other files over here as well. And, the core of this is that, we've taken a process, we've taken a pain point, we've been able to digitize a great solution at a super low cost and a short timeline. I think this project took less than 40 hours and can now be used across the states as something that helps alleviate those pain points for other companies, and particularly this client. So that is the end of my presentation. I really hope that you guys were able to understand everything. I'm really excited to answer any questions. Again, my name is Natalie Roberts, and I really appreciate the time today and being able to share data scraping with AI and robotic process automation.